Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today I'm going to be going over a video that I'm really excited to share with you because I think it's super important and a message that a lot of people should try to hear. So basically, I've compiled a big three list, and I'll get into them each in a relative amount of detail, but the three big mistakes that newer collectors are particularly susceptible to, but it's definitely not something that only newer collectors can benefit from hearing because there's a lot of common traps to fall into, and whether it's just about having the right perspective or some specific tips and guidelines that you can try to think about and collect by, I'll go over those recommendations in this video. So with that being said, let's get into the first of these big three mistakes. Now, the first big mistake that I'm going to caution you guys about is not really understanding the finances of the coins and the numismatics that you're collecting. I think that this is a really big tip and a really big error, and I'll explain it in detail because there's a lot of different ways where people do not properly understand or have the right perspective or even just go about their collection in a way that's going to be good for value. Now, there's some people, and I think that this is a really important note before I get into the specifics, that are not concerned about the value behind their collecting, and I think that that's fine. I definitely am somebody who does not collect with value as the forefront, but it is important to make that distinction because sometimes there's some really cool coins that you just want to own and are not probably the best investment, and then in that case it's fine to just purchase those because you're getting the enjoyment and the value derived from just owning those specific coins or sets or whatever it is. But for people, and I know that this is a big thing in the hobby, is viewing it as somewhat of an investment or a fun investment, I think that there are a lot of ways where people get into some traps. The one big piece of advice that I have to offer is something that I was told by a coin dealer, and this really changed my perspective in collecting, is that you want to save up for a few smaller purchases as opposed to getting a collection based off of really, really low value coins. And I think a way to look at this is if you have 10 $20 purchases, or say 10 $20 $10 purchases, or one $200 purchase, long term the value is much more likely to go up a lot on the one $200 purchase because those are more rare items. Now this scales. If you have $2,000 to buy coins with, you probably want to buy a few bigger items as opposed to buying $210 items. The example in my case was that I used to collect in a lot of folders, and I would buy coins for like V-nickels for $3 or pennies, wheat pennies for $1, and I think I had a lot of fun doing that. But at that point I was also thinking that this was a very value focused collection. I was going off of things like the Red Book for Values, which is a great book to get started with, but the reality is, from a coin dealer's perspective or a retail perspective, it's not going to be a situation where you can sell those coins for what you bought them for, because there's very limited people to actually sell these to. In a coin show, it's pretty rare that these coins are going to be traded. You have to buy dealer fees and spend the time if you're going to do it in person, and on eBay for a $3 coin, the time spent doing the listing, uploading the photos, probably isn't going to be worth it. After all the fees and shipping, you probably will make like $1.50 on a $3 coin, and it's unlikely that you paid less than $1.50. So that's kind of the thing that I'm saying there. I think also another big miss is a lot of the eBay mystery products. I think it's better to just buy coins where you know that the coin will be good, so a key date coin or just a solid condition coin. That's going to be better than like a mystery grab bag, because maybe sometimes somebody will seed something good in there, but the reality of the situation is that the grab bags are well picked through the rolls. It's very rare that people are selling authentic rolls online. I mean, I have found some pretty good things in rolls, but those were not on eBay. They were in person from sellers that I trusted as having not searched the rolls. So that's kind of a difference right there to begin with. Another problem is obviously, and this will interweave with some other points that I make later in this video, but buying fake coins is a huge problem. So it's important to go in with trusted dealers, people that you know, or maybe for some people on a bigger coin, I know that the coin grading can be a little bit arbitrary and there's a lot of differences in small grades that can mean big price differences. So it's important to have a good eye for the coins. But if you are purchasing and you're not super established with collecting, definitely a good idea to get some other opinions or people to weigh in, or just buy from people that you know are on your side instead of trying to go it alone, so to speak. Now, with that being said, those are the finances. I think the big one is a prospective investor versus just having fun. But the big thing that I see is people doing coins as a way to retire. I think that there's some truth to, it's better than spending your money on movies from a value in the long-term perspective, but a lot of the ways that people do it then, it's not quite the way to maximize their investment potential if that's what they're looking for. Something like a roll of Buffalo nickels, the price really, I would say, will not increase in the future. Same thing with just the bulk coins, especially bulk coins that are not silver or gold. Those are much different cases. That's a precious metals investment, but I'm talking about numismatic stuff where there's not much in the way of metal to back things up. Let's go to the next one. The second big thing that you want to avoid as a coin collector is handling and storing your coins improperly. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, so I do want to basically go through a comprehensive list, but the big problem, obviously, is that there's a lot of opportunity for your coins to become in worse condition than they were before due to entirely preventable reasons. Now, sometimes there's disasters or I don't know, some crazy event that might happen where your coins can really get damaged, but a lot of the collecting value, certainly at the higher end, is going to be found in the condition of the coin as opposed to what date, mint mark, or composition it's in. So it's really important to kind of consider that. Now, the first way that is pretty obvious, but is just when you're touching coins, you're handling coins, the whole thing is you probably don't want to touch them. If you are grabbing a coin and you touch the surface of the coin, it's going to cause wear. If not, it might even cause some damage with the oils that come off of your hands. So obviously you don't want to be touching coins. If possible, there's some coin collecting gloves that you can use. And you definitely want to be holding the coin by the rim, not by the obverse and reverse on the actual planchet. The other thing to think about is when you have coins, you don't want them to be clinking around with other coins because there's a lot of bag marks. That's where, that's why coins often are MS-70 when they're coming out of the mint. They've come into contact with a lot of other coins, and there's a lot of potential for damage just on the slow rubbing, or if an edge kind of comes into contact with a coin's face with some force behind it, that can also definitely damage things. If coins fall out of a bag as you remove them or are kind of clinking around within the bag, that can be a pretty big problem as well. Beyond that, though, a lot of people store coins when they're starting out. They might go in some cardboard flips, which are okay, but you have to remember that the staples can rust and then have some pretty unattractive toning come out of that. If you have the plastic flips that you put the coins in, there are some good ones like the Mylar ones, but then there are also some PVC flips where there's some sulfur that will leak into the coins, causing a really unattractive green toning. Then there's also the problem with the albums. There's fun. So there's the coin folders where you just kind of push the coin in. Those can be really fun for storage when you're just starting out. I collected a ton with the folders. It doesn't matter for the coins when the condition isn't that great. So if it's mostly worn coins that you're collecting, that's okay. But the problem would be more with the really uncirculated coins. By holding it in a folder, there's a lot of opportunity where the coin, when you push it in, probably not going to be too good for the coin. Also, when it sits there, the back of the coin is going to be in contact with the folder, which isn't great. A much better solution would be some of the high quality albums where there's two sides of plastic. That's not even great because when you put the coin in, there's a lot of opportunity for coins when the plastic slides go, they could damage them. So if you're dealing with really high-end coins, that could be a problem. Could be a few, a tick down or so in the mint state range when you're doing that if there's no major problem. I, for full disclosure, store my coins often in coin albums. I like the way that they display, and that's where I'm not only focused on the financial value. I don't invest too much with coins, but I do want to caution because a lot of people come into coin collecting with the investment side of thing as a really important one. Something that goes without saying, but it's important. Maybe some people haven't heard of it or think, maybe on this coin it'll be fine. Cleaning coins is a huge no. There's only one, there's a PCGS preservation or something like that. They can they restore coins, maybe if there's a fire or something and there's some interesting damage, something melted on it, that sort of thing. But the coin cleaning that you can do in your home, really strongly do not recommend it. While often your coin might come out shinier than it was before, the problem is that it's an unattractive shine, it's not an original shine, and it's very, very easy for collectors to tell if a coin is genuinely cleaned or not, and the value immediately will decrease. It'll become a cleaned coin. So even if your coin has some what you think is ugly but original toning, or it's really dark on a silver coin where you think it should be a shiny original look, definitely do not remove that. That's something where you're just going to have to let it sit, and the coin will become much, much less valuable if you take matters into your own hands. Though there are some situations, something like an ancient coin, if you need to clean the coin so you can see detail, totally different. But for modern US coins, if you've got an old one, it's in uncirculated condition or about uncirculated, just don't make it a details coin where it's been cleaned and it's no longer original. So that's kind of my big thing about the handling. The big thing is not storing them poorly. The other thing that I neglected to mention, by the way, is you don't want your coins to be super humid. That's just not a good environment, or damp or anything like that. You want it to be a climate controlled environment with relatively low humidity. But the storage of coins, whether it's where they are, what types of things you are doing to them, how you're holding them, all those things you want to make sure to handle the coins properly. Now, the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is not making this hobby something that's fun and something where you have a community. I think that the community with coin collecting is the number one reason that I'm still doing it. I've really, really made a lot of good relationships, friends, and just enjoyed it immensely more than I would have without the community around me. Now, the big thing for me at this point is I'm making YouTube videos, definitely a bit of a different angle, but I can tell you some of the most important relationships. My boss, I've worked in a coin shop now for about 5 years, and he's somebody who's really, really important to me. I've gotten to know him really well, and the people around him involved in the coins. I know for people like you who are watching who might not be working in a coin shop, having a good relationship with a coin shop means that you'll get much better deals and just somebody on your side. Now, obviously, you don't want to be approaching it from the angle of somebody who just wants to get extra money, because really, if that's what you're doing, you shouldn't be trying to pursue these types of relationships. It's something that will just make your time collecting a lot more fun. Humans are social beings, and having somebody to talk about coins with, or to discuss and learn, and somebody who can look out for coins for you that you want to purchase, that's super, super important. People who are more experienced than you are, who know a lot more, that will be able to then kind of mentor you, or not necessarily mentor, but just provide a lot of expert advice and have a good time. Now, that's one set of being part of the community. The other is people like you. So people who are similar in their enthusiasm for coins does not quite mean that they're going to be able to help you in your collecting journey from getting more coins or that sort of thing, but people just to talk about them with, to get excited. They probably have some different focuses that you can learn a lot from. I know the way that I collect coins is probably different from some of the people that I know how they collect coins, and it's fun to get their more knowledgeable reads into certain fields, or even learn entirely new fields coin collecting. I think one thing that I really learned, took away, I don't own any pattern coins, but I met a pattern coin collector and talked with him about pattern coins, and really, really developed a passion from there. I also was recommended to get onto the classic commemorative half dollars. That's something I had never really heard of before talking to a specific collector. So just having those sorts of people is really fun. It's also awesome if there's a younger collector or somebody who's more getting into it, to be able to share some coins that maybe would have meant a ton to you at one point, but now, they're just some regular old coins that are fun and old, but they don't have too much specific meaning, to get other people involved with the hobby. The other thing is that there are some people who are doing research on coins, and that's really important to be able to read theirs. I know that this kind of ties in with what I was saying, but there are people who are really advanced from an academic perspective or from a journal perspective. I don't belong to any specific coin clubs. It's just more personal relationships for me, but I know that there are some really active coin clubs in certain areas where that's going to be a huge part of it as well as people who go to a ton of coin shows. I go to a few, but not a ton. I know I have a few good friends who I met out at the ANA Summer Seminar. That was a really cool experience for me because I got to talk to other people, both much older who had a lot more knowledge, but also other people who were more on the dealing side and people who are my age who take coins as seriously as I do. So that was just something that I think is a really big part of it, whether that's even if it's your dad or your children or your brother or just a childhood friend who also enjoys it. Just being able to have a little bit more than just yourself working on coins and enjoying coins alone, I think is pretty awesome. And remember how big the online part of coin collecting is these days. We are pretty spread out across the country and world, and it's tough to always talk about these things in person, but there are unlimited resources online, whether it's comment sections or it's forums or it's a Reddit subreddit. There's just tons of ways to do that, get involved, and talk more about coins with other people. So those are the 3 big mistakes. Don't fall victim to making any of them. They can really harm your experience, whether it's from a financial perspective or it's just an enjoyment and a utility. I've been taking some econ classes, so just the overall picture, you want to make it a positive experience, and those are 3 ways to definitely edge it in that positive experience direction.
Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to get in touch with me, do so on my website, treasuretownYT.com, my Instagram, TreasureTownYT, or my Facebook, TreasureTown. I've got links in the description, and I'll see you on some of my other videos.